Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have a group of residents that are in the area northeast of Colehurst, along Range Road 22-1, that have some concerns with some of the heavy traffic that goes down there because of the road ban that's on Township Road 94, otherwise known for us west of 25 as the Kip Cutoff Road. That road has been banned to 50%, and there is a gravel pit to the east that the trucks come out of there and turn north to avoid the road ban. In 2015, we did have an agreement with the haulers coming out of there, where we did cost share some patching that had to be done on that road to keep it from blowing up on us during the haul. Since that time, no work has been done on that road, and it remains in a banned state. So there is a delegation here to present to you their concerns about where they reside in relation to the road, and dusting concerns, and the shape of the road after the hauling's been going on. So they've written us a letter. They've asked to come in and speak to you. I think Mr. Swindinsky is here to lead the delegation, and I'll leave it to him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sit there?
Yeah, you right up here, and if you want to bring a partner, there's another chair there for you.
Well, I'll start off. I'm Roy Swindinsky, and they can't even spell my name right. So this is how good the county is. I have no confidence in them. But anyhow, there's 23 families living in 2.5 miles on Range Road 221. And we can't get dust control on it. Baloney. Every time we phone the county, you say, oh, well, you know you live in the country. No. How come all the feedlots can get their roads done with calcium chloride and bentonite? And we are stuck in the hind tip on road control. We get 2 miles of washboard every time the grader goes by. They're going too fast, and the blade is bouncing, and right after the grader goes by, you can feel it. Now, they say they go over the road 4 times, and 4 times the washboard is. Now, that Wells Road, or the 194 or whatever, was built to highway specifications in the early 70s after they rolled a truck on it. And the county is responsible for the coal mix on top. But the county is looking for somebody else to do their work for them. You know, they thought Tullister was going to fix the coal mix, but they're not taking anything out of there, so they don't want to do anything with that road. So you get a 50% ban, all the trucks go north on Range Road 221. And like I said, we're tired of the dust. And if you cross Highway 25, last year they did 2 miles of calcium chloride bentonite for Heinz's there for 6 or 7 families, and 3 of those are Heinz's. Now, how come they get priority over us? Can somebody answer that to me now, or what? Or do I wait till the end?
Not necessarily, I would say, priority. It certainly is a matter of the most used roads in the haul road network.
Now, you want to come on our road. It starts before 7 in the morning and see what the dust is like. I have a renter that says he was seeding, and he had to quit because he couldn't stand the dust there. Now, what does that tell you? So, and when the trucks go onto Highway 25 off of 221 there on the north end, I don't know, it's a hell of a sharp turn, and I think there could be a problem with traffic there, I don't know. Anyhow, that's about all I have to say. We have other people here that like to continue.
Okay,
I have a couple, I have a couple issues, and they're safety issues.
Introduce.
I'm Alan Draper is my name. Okay, I live on the same road as everybody else here. I say the issues I have are safety issues. The road that goes past our place hits Highway 25, but it hits it at like a 60-degree angle. It hits into a T intersection. So it's a very dangerous, when truckers, the big trucks, they have to go that way, turn onto Highway 25, they have to take up 2 lanes to make the turn, where they're turning on it or off of it because it meets it at such a crazy angle. I consider that a danger to the general public on that highway when those trucks can't make a proper turn onto the road. Also, with the heavy traffic that's on it, our road, if we get a little bit of rain or a little bit of snow like this and it melts, large portions of our road are just a mud road because the gravel has been driven into the ditch or into the road. So it's really slick. You need a 4x4 to drive it if it rains. Certain sections of it are a real mess. Potholes are appearing like crazy. Pieces of it are falling into the ditch. There's some places north of me where last year, last spring, the road was just decomposed and half the road slid into the ditch. So we have to get those heavy trucks off of that road and back onto the road that it was designed for. Thank you.
Oh, something else. A couple years, 2 years ago, they brought all the clay from the side onto the center of the road to get a crown on it. They put no gravel on there. When it rained, I had to use a 4x4 at 15 miles an hour to stay in the center of the road. And like I said, you couldn't drive there with anything else. And I phoned the county, I got no reception. Nobody would drive down that road. It's all right for us to go down it, but not the county to check it out. Now that they put some gravel on it, it's a hell of a lot better, let's put it that way.
okay. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? The group?
Well, I'm Norm Walnut.
Please come up and use the mic.
Okay.
Too many years in the tractor and no hearing protection.
I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, right here.
I'm Norm Watmo, and I rent Roy's land from him. He's on the east side of the road. And he's the guy that, I'm the guy that he referred to as, you couldn't even see. But when the trucks start rolling and they're hauling with several semi-trailers, it gets bad. Like we had to just shut down because we couldn't even see where we're going. And they're just one passing the other, and it's dangerous. It's dangerous. But anyway, this road is well used, and the thing that I guess bothers me is I don't know why you need to ban a road in the middle of winter. We have to send our trucks that way that haul hay from our place, but you ban the road in the middle of the winter and the road's frozen. There's shows on TV called the ice road. They wait for it to freeze and then they can go. And I think at least there should be a time of the year we can get that ban down. I don't know if that would work or not. It's a thought, I suppose. The road on the, like just last week, there was at least 3 semi-trailers hauling for, well, it was in the dark in the morning, and they were still hauling in the dark at night, so you can, do the math. But sometimes there's like 7 or 8, and they haul a lot of gravel out of that pit east of my house. And then I own a company called Sun-Cured Alfalfa, and we get trucks coming in to take loads from everywhere into Ontario even. And they have to come on that gravel road. It just doubles the amount of time, and it doubles the amount of maintenance that you have to do. Pardon me, it should be about 4 times, because you're going 2 miles this way, and then back the 2 miles, get back to Lethbridge. So the roads are getting used, you're putting more traffic on the roads than 1 mile would solve. So that's kind of my concern, is it's very hard for us to run a business. And then everybody says, well, you have your own road going through your property there to the highway, but I have to maintain it. And at one point I put 14 semi-trailer roads of gravel on it, that's not cheap. And it's just a farm road. But if we don't have that, we have a problem. We just can't get our hay in. We have to depend on truckers that are hauling in. We gotta tell them to use that road and they don't. Then they get a ticket and they're upset at us. So it's a problem for me. And I think something has to be addressed and done to that road. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I'd like to say also, on that 2 miles of road, there are 5 acreages. Now, these acreages have paid a hell of a lot more taxes than any feedlot. So why are we being discriminated against? We can't get our road dust-proofed.
Okay, is there anyone else wishing to speak? Don't leave your chair for a sec, I got a question for you. So your ask at the end of the day is to have your road brought up to the same standard as a haul road, or I don't see that in your letter?
No, I'd like it, same as that road heading east from Canterbury's feedlot.
That's a calcium-based stabilization, which
Yeah.
right? Okay.
14 miles, 14 houses on it. Now, we've got 2 miles with 14 houses on it. Does that tell you anything? And 5 of those are acres. And everyone signed it. I don't know if you
Yeah, we got it, no. Yeah. Okay. Council have any questions?
And your first initial last name?
Yes, was.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That, you referred to the other road there, Van Race, where are you at?
On Range Road 110 or something.
12-0.
Can you say where the approximately is?
12-0 runs from Keyhole Lake all the way to Van Ray, VRP, East Law.
From Batteries all the way to the highway going to Lomond. It's 14 miles and I've flown it, counted every mile and every house. It is on TWP 10. And that's been there for about 3 years, and I understand that the county's gonna shut down next year for maintenance, this calcium chloride and all that. And that other one's been there 2 or 3 years that I know of, and I'd like to know what kind of shape it's in right now.
12-0. 12-0 got, it's
12-0 was the first year of the program, and we've had a lot of success with that road, with the calcium. It does get its annual maintenance. It has not got its 6-year maintenance because it's only 3 years into the cycle. So, but what we do is the repairs on the, we get some lineal potholes that show up and a little bit of washboarding at intersections, but we run the mill razor, a top shot of calcium, and it's back, and that stuff doesn't seem to show up. We think it's going to take a cycle or two, but it's 12-0. The entire length has been exactly what we're expecting.
Well, now, so I'm talking about TWP 10.
Or sorry, 10-0. 10-0, yes.
So just, is your road the same one that Mark Lenz lives on?
Yes.
Okay. Because I know he's complained about the approach getting onto Highway 25, or 20, yeah, 25, 20, yeah.
And it doesn't matter what you do with our road, how you improve it, it's not gonna last if you keep running those tandem gravel trucks up and down our road nonstop. It just won't last no matter what you do with it.
Great.
That road has some pretty serious problems at the north end. There's a major frost boil that we'd have to muck out a good few hundred meters at least before we could even consider doing calcium on that road.
There's two spots right up
Yeah.
towards north end. I know exactly where they are.
So last year, that's what he was saying, last spring, we had a major frost boil that came up, and that road was closed for, I don't know, a week or so.
Yeah.
We were working on that, and we had to put a ton of riprap in there to get it to tighten up.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, we have your request, so we can debate it as soon as we get done this other couple we've kind of put through, and we'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Can I get your phone number so that on the windiest days when the trucks are hauling, I can phone you direct?
It's listed, yeah, betcha.
Your private number,
It's the only one I have.
because I will be phoning.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming in.
All right, mine still works.
Pardon?
Mine still works. Mine still works, and you've got my number.
Oh, okay. But you're not in charge here.
Yeah, right. Okay, thanks very much for coming in.
Say again?
Their numbers are all listed on the website.
We need the motion to receive bonds.
Okay, I thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. All in favor of receiving for information? Opposed? Carried. Oh, sorry.
Should we bring a report back or something in a month or?
I would think that would be Rick.
The way that we've dealt with those in the past is that the counselor of that division requests us to bring it forward to be added as a future consideration road for all route.
They would already, just, I mean, if half the issue is the road bed on 94, just to look at the kind of the network of roads there, I guess, just what the issue is, what a solution could be maybe.
Well, that's a
If you like, we could look at extending that one more mile on the KIP road. It's a major expense for, we didn't recommend it to begin with, but if you'd like, we could look at upgrading that road to be able to take the loading, the same as the rest of the KIP road, as part of that project. There would be some cost savings tendering it all at once.
Well, could you bring us back a report that included kind of more than one option?
Yeah, the only thing is we didn't do the geotech on that section, so we'd have to spend some money to get the info if you would like. Few $1,000s.
The geotech, I
A
think.
few, but
Yeah.
I would have to get a quote, but typically a mile is maybe $5,000.
Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, that would probably be a better idea, because all the other trucks are using, especially when they're turning off that thing. But when they're on that gravel road, they can pull out and then get around there. But the trucks that are coming this way are in the inside lane, thing there, and that's pretty tough.
So with the truck traffic, there's really nothing that comes off of Highway 25 other than a few loads that go up and around, like you said, for his alfalfa crop and stuff he's got to bring in. All the truck is coming out of the Davis pit, and every time we ask them, they say they're ceasing hauling there, there's no more. And the truck traffic there is not continuous. So they haul for a little while and then they quit. And the other thing is that any loads going north, they're not gonna go to 25, they're gonna go straight north. So, unless we ban that road as a gravel, force them to 25. It was up there.
Claus?
you said go straight north from there, so then they would come out right by the Highway 25 again? Spot the Highway 25 going east and west? Yeah.
Okay, so the gravel comes out of these pits down here. So in this area, they come up and they access Range Road 22-1. So instead of taking this mile because it's banned, they go straight north to hook up to 25. So if any of that material is going north of this area, I would say they're gonna go this way anyway. They're not gonna go this way and up.
Yeah, but a lot of those trucks, they come back, they go up here, and then they come back, so all that stuff, you can go to Davis, comes back with the animals.
So Rick, sorry, can you show me where the road is that you're talking about? Right there?
So this is the piece that's banned at 50%.
Okay.
This is the rest of the KIP road from 25 to the intersection up here, just by the highway. That's the approved capital project for 2019 for resurfacing, to bring that so we can eliminate the road ban on this section. We didn't go this way because the traffic counts weren't there.
And that's a cold mix?
Yeah, it's like it's a whole bunch of stuff.
But it's actual pretty good now.
Yeah, I did talk to the PW guys, and we could consider 75% versus 50 because of some of the patching that we did. That's still not going to get. They don't want to haul it less than 100. So the idea would be if this is in the same shape as the rest of this, then we were 1.6 million. So you're, I don't know, say another 450,000 maybe to do this. But without the geotech, I don't know if it's in the shape. It might not be the same as the rest of this.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. But Rick, you could spend that 450,000 for the little part, but I mean, if they're gonna hit the road and going straight north anyway, so why wouldn't we be doing that?
Well, then we could say this is light traffic only unless they have a permit.
Well, I know when the Lenzens bring their cattle back from Saskatchewan, they can't come down that road to go to their place. So they go down 25 and turn up. Wait, that intersection up there, it's so hard for the semis to turn that corner to get in there.
And this right in here is bad. That road is,
Yeah, it's
it
terrible.
needs to be completely reconstructed.
Doug Brooks.
And there's no drainage.
Dumped the trailer on that road turn over there. Well, it would. And then, like say, Mark and when he gets cattle, that's the way they come in. But I mean, he doesn't get them a lot, but I mean, it's just that, like, it's a regular triangle up there. And you're trying to turn right here on the highway, you go up there, and then having to turn around and come back. It's like this. And you're here, and this is a road, so they have to pull up.
Well, on triangle, you can't keep the back wheels out of the ditch, no matter what you do.
So what we had heard when we were going through the whole site triangle issue was that this landowner right on the corner here is one of our people that was refusing to cut their trees. I'm surprised that didn't come up today. But their excuse for not wanting to cut the trees is because there's no more trucks coming out of here. So he cut it back to where we said he'd have to cut it back if we put in a stop sign or reduce to 30 kilometers an hour, which we didn't do because we had heard that he was going to object to that. That's what he does.
Okay.
So we'll bring back a report for upgrading this piece. Is that what you guys, to amend the capital project for 2019? Is that the?
Should be one option anyway, probably.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Did we vote on that? Did we vote on that motion?
No. Information we did. We received recommendation.
Who made that, sorry? Because
Clause.
okay.
So you just added that on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this I just added on because you guys were just talking and I was just.
You can just leave it the way it was and
Yeah.
take that whole section out and then give direction to staff.
Okay. You think it's early enough to do the 2 o'clock subdivisions?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah. So our first one is pages 31 to 65, and our subdivision application 2018-0-168, Grand View. That was deferred from December the 6th. Did we put that on the table? Do we need to lift it?
Yes.
We need to lift that from the table. Need a motion to do so. Thank you, Steve. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this first application for this afternoon is for the Northeast 361023 west of the 4th. And it is being brought from our last council meeting on December the 6th, where there were some questions with regards to the requirements of Alberta Transportation for access to the truck wash area, and that it would be in this subdivision that's being proposed. And I know that Steve Hardy has been in touch with Alberta Transportation, and they have provided some additional information which is in your agenda package, but I'll let Steve go through what their comments were and then we can answer any questions.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, from the action at the last council meeting there that we deferred this application pending some more information from Alberta Transportation. I did contact the department and spoke with them about the application and their requirements. As well, in respect to that conversation, Transportation sent a copy of the roadside development permit that they approved with the development and the development application for the Grandview truck wash there, which is also part of your package. So just to summarize, Alberta Transportation indicated that they discussed very early on the development proposal with the applicant, and as part of that looked at their plans and the amount of truck traffic that would be there. As well, they indicated to the applicants very early on that they would be requiring the 30-meter service road dedication, so that the applicant actually planned their site accordingly so that they'd be set back and meet the setbacks to Highway 519 and the future service road there. The purpose of the service road is to direct traffic access if additional subdivision or development were to occur to a single control point to Highway 519, so up there in the northwest corner. So at this junction, since we're currently only dealing with a single development on a single subdivision that's coming out, Alberta Transportation has requested that the service road be caveated onto the title to protect it for the future when required, rather than fully constructed at this time. As well, Alberta Transportation mentioned that that all the access requirements were dealt with at the development permitting stage and through the roadside development permit that was issued by the department. That determined what they call a modified type 2A intersection access was required. So AMAC submitted an engineer plan to them, which the department accepted. Basically, what that entails is that they had to remove the existing access that was there and construct a new access to Alberta Transportation standards, which involved widening the access a bit, putting pavement in, and putting in a 500-meter culvert. The department also asked them to do it in the fall here, as we completed as part of the upgrading and overlaying of Highway 519 that was done here in the fall. So what transportation looked at is they're satisfied with the subdivision and with the condition there for the caveat for the service road. What they indicated was that according to the type of truck traffic and the numbers for this development, it justifies what they call this modified type 2A intersection. It's projected that there will be 30 vehicles or less a day, and to do any type of additional improvements there, like a dedicated turning lane or something like that, they wouldn't ask for that until there's over 100 trucks a day or more for the site. So what they did indicate that as part of their agreement and the development approval with the developer, that if the traffic volumes were to increase in the future beyond what's projected, that they have the authority that they'll request that at that time, if that was to happen, the developer would have to upgrade the intersection and put in dedicated turning lanes if that was warranted, that type of thing. That they would address that directly with the developer if that was the situation that was to arise in the future. But at this junction, for the subdivision and the development that was approved there and the anticipated truck traffic, it doesn't not warrant them requesting that at this time. So with that, transportation said they have no concerns with the subdivision and that the condition number 3 on the draft resolution will satisfy all their needs and requests as it pertains to Highway 519 and access.
Steve, any questions? Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the drawings on page 44 and 45 kind of indicate what they would have to do if it gets to the point that they have 100 trucks or so.
That's correct.
That's the real case.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
So the other thing, Mr. Chair, I will mention that since this was circulated out to you weeks back, we did receive some LNAD comments, some new LNAD comments, but basically they don't object to the subdivision, and it just pertains to the truck wash entering into an agreement there with them for a water conveyance agreement for the volume amount of water they need to, for a minimum of 38 feet of water. So it's just regards to the water provision, but everything else is the same, and the conditions I still have the same as the last there with the 5 conditions for taxes development agreement, the Alberta transportation requirements for the service road dedication, the drainage easement, and any utility company easements.
Okay. Any further discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor? Those opposed? Carried. Thank you. Let's do pages 66 to 77. Subdivision application 2018-0-171, Cocoa Farms Limited.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just get Steve back here. So this application, subdivision application 2018-0-171 for Cocoa Farms is in the southeast 1813-19 west of the 4th. And it is right next to the off of Township Road 13-2, and the parcel that's in the southeast corner of that quarter section is the Sundial Community Hall. So just so you're aware of what that subdivision is. They're asking to subdivide out an 8.76 acre farmyard out of a 155 acre parcel for country residential use. And as far as the subdivision criteria of the land use bylaw, it does appear to conform with those requirements. And Steve will go through the recommendation and the any background information.
Mr. Chair, this application is to subdivide out a historic farmyard on the property at 8.76 acres in size. This is part of the Oseen property up in that area. This yard contains a dwelling, an old abandoned house. There's a garage and agricultural buildings on site. The parcel is a bit jutted on the west side because they're going to include there's a dugout there at the very southwest on the other side of the trees. So they like to include that as part of the yard and for providing water to the yard. The water is delivered by the Rural Water Co-op system, and sewage treatment is treated on site by an individual septic system. This property hasn't been used for a while for that, so in the future, if they're to do some new construction on there, they'd be looking at putting a new septic system in. Which the parcel at the size and with the buildings on there would allow them room on the property to do so. As Hillary mentioned, there is an existing 5-acre subdivision out of the southeast corner, which is for the Sundial Community Association for their community hall, which has been there since 1918. That subdivision doesn't count against the landowner in the subdivision criteria definition bylaw. That's for a quasi-public use. Title is owned by the Sundial Community Association. So the landowner themselves is still eligible to take the yard out of the quarter section. So with that, it meets the subdivision criteria as far as a single yard parcel coming out. There's no confined feeding operations or gas wells in proximity that we have to worry about. As well during the referral process, there's no objections received. Up to this point, we only got a couple of utility comments back. Actually, only one, Fortis, to this point, but they didn't require anything. I left on the blanket easement just in case something trickles in here before Christmas, but I have recommended approval to you just with the conditions of taxes being paid up to date, development agreement if required, and that if there's a utility company easement for gas line or something like that that's needed, that be provided also.
Questions? Did you collect anything on that for the acreage?
Municipal reserve, you mean?
Yeah.
No, because it's considered the first parcel out for the landowner, because the community hall is included. If they were to re-subdivide it, then we would be able to take municipal reserve at that point in time.
You move for that.
I'll move, sir.
Which one did you pick, Donna?
March. That's what I heard.
Any discussion? Call for question, those in favor? Those opposed? Carried. Okay, let's do number C, 7885, that's the time extension request for subdivision approval 2010-0-242 Vale Farms Limited. Right across the street from section 26.
That's correct. Okay. So this is, as mentioned, this subdivision was approved back in 2010, and they've just taken some time to get their letters from Alberta Environment completed for the Water Act. So they were requesting that for a time extension for this application to finalize the final conditions on their subdivision. So Steve can go through the recommendation and any pertinent information.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this application in front of you is for just for the council to consider granting a time extension so they can register their subdivision land titles. Subdivision was previously approved by county council. This is one of those subdivisions that just doesn't seem to have gone away and been going on for a while. They originally applied in 2010. Unfortunately, the history is that when they applied in 2010, before they met their conditions finalized, or what was happening at that time was when the Malay drainage issue came up, and then Alberta Environment put a moratorium on approving the subdivision and stormwater plans until the Malay drainage master plan was done. Once that was done, the applicant had to complete their own drainage plan. And since that point, it's taken a little bit to finally get a confirmation from Alberta Environment. First they were told that they had to apply under the Water Act. You know, when their engineer did some work and submitted it, they were told that they didn't have to apply under the Water Act. And then as they were moving forward to finalize, Alberta Environment said, no, you don't have to apply. So there was a bit of back and forth with Alberta Environment and the department there. I also think due to maybe a bit of lack of sophistication on the developer's part, who's not really a developer, they're landowner, that there's some miscommunication as well between themselves, the department, and their engineer, sometimes about who was submitting stuff and the other thought the other had submitted it. So there was a bit of waiting time in between on some stuff, so it's taken quite a while. But with that, in reviewing the application, we did get the confirmation here from Alberta Environment that they're satisfied and that no approval under the Water Act will be required for this, for the single lot. So we finally have something in writing from them on that statement. So everything else they've now submitted on the subdivision application, we have everything in, everything's been paid. They have all their surveyor work done, the plan. So they meet all the conditions. So I have suggested to you grant one last time extension so they just get it done and up here after all the time and money spent on this. It still meets the bylaw and the approval and all those sorts of things. That part hasn't changed. The landowner in their request did ask for another year. I suggested 3 months. You could, if you do grant an approval, you could give them 6 months, 3 months, you can up to a year. I suggested 3 months on the basis that we have everything now, and they got the Alberta Environment approval, everything's here. They just need to sign it and get it off to land titles now. And I think this one's kind of gone on long enough. If they can just do that and get it off, 3 months should be plenty of time. Rather than give them another year and it dolls on and all that, or they forget 8 months from now and then to come back to you again and that sort of stuff. So I think that 3 months should be sufficient, and then sign it and get it off and get it registered and done. So my suggestion was don't give them the year, just give them 3 months. But that's your discretion.
So I would have a question on that one. What if they land titles and get it done in 3 months? Does he have to come back again? Because to me, after he explained it to me, it sounds like it was kind of a bungling process all the way along. Like, I mean, one time Alberta Environment said they didn't need the plan, and you guys said they didn't need the plan, and then somebody told them they did, and then they didn't, and it kind of got drug on and forever and ever, and now we have to pay again to extend it again. So, like, can 3 months do it, or should we give them more?
You could give it, in my opinion, 3 months could do it. He has everything here. If you give the extension, we just have to do an endorsement, and then it just has to be sent off to land titles. Now, if you want to make sure give him a little extra time, maybe give him 6 months. He doesn't have to do anything additional. Everything is in. It just needs kind of the signature on the paperwork and then to be couried up to land titles, basically. But I do know that Mr. Vale, and between his surveyor and between his engineer, sometimes there was miscommunication, or one was waiting for the other to do something and they didn't respond or do anything because they didn't hear from the other party. So stuff dragged on for months at a time. maybe on the final that could happen again if he doesn't forward on the approval to the surveyor or something, they don't send in their plan or something like that. But yeah, if you don't want him to come back, then maybe give him 6 months or something like that. But basically, we do have everything now. It just takes, if you approve the extension, we just have to sign the endorsement and they can just send it up to land title, so.
Morris?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, that was gonna be my question. If you give him only 3 months and things are not in place, then he can ask for an extension again. So anyways, I've been listening to the conversation with Steve Gilbert down here, and I think if we give him 6 months, I think that should be adequate, and my motion is as such.
Bob, did you have something?
No,
No.
that's exactly, I was gonna say. Thank you.
Anything else from anybody? Call the question, those in favor? Those opposed, carried. Thank you. Steve, is this other?
Only 2 more things you would have made it.
Yeah, only 2 more, yes. Clean up on aisle 6.
Well, you're gonna miss this for a while. No. No, just our next meeting. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Have a good Christmas.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Yeah.
See you. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks for lunch.
Okay. Let's see. Let's do G, page 86 to 94, bylaw 18-030, John Fair. For some reason, my pages don't turn very good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is bylaw 18-030 for Mr. John Fair. And he's made an application to amend the land use bylaw from rural agriculture to business light industrial for a portion of his parcel that is located within the southeast 21020 west of the port. And I'll just consume this. So it's the bigger 7-acre parcel here, which he wishes to subdivide pretty much in half. And the western half is for the business light industrial to accommodate his growing. He has an auto repair shop that he wishes to grow, but he's outgrown the requirements that are allowed for under the rural agriculture district, which only allows for a certain amount of employees, certain amount of, certain types of signage. So he wants to just expand his growing business. And so the recommendation from administration was that he could apply to amend it to, and we did recommend the business light industrial, just given the area that he's in. And so it's just for first reading, and then first reading would give us the opportunity to set up the public hearing and send out the notices for such hearing.
Any comments? Steve?
I'll move first reading, Mr. Chairman.
Any further comments? Call for the question. Those in favor? Those opposed? Carried. Bylaw 18-031, Crystal Springs Cheese, amendment of the land use from rural agriculture to rec control. First reading, 95 to 106.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is also an application just for first reading, and it is for the Crystal Springs Cheese facility just off of Range Road 22-2 and Township Road 10-2. And they're requesting to, they subdivided out the cheese processing facility in 2017. And they're now requesting to amend the land use bylaw from rural agriculture to direct control. And the reason they're doing direct control is because the uses that they're wanting to pursue on the parcel don't fit specifically within any land use district within the county. So the uses that they're looking to put together would be the cheese production, a retail component, and kind of a small cafe/restaurant. Very, very small in size, about 30 person capacity, but just to kind of enhance the existing cheese production facility that they have there, give them a little bit more, their clients a bit more of a feel for what they're doing there on site. So that's the request. The direct control is attached to your agenda package, just for your information at this time. But we do recommend that the bylaw be read for a first time. This will allow us to have the public hearing and send out the notices.
Any discussion? Morris?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand they're in operation already, but the thing is probably gonna pass everything anyways, I would think, for where they're at and whatever. However, cut all the lonely out, I guess, and I'll just move the first reading, Mr. Chairman.
What else were you gonna say?
She's not alone. The night is off, I was just gonna say typical daddy operation.
No, it's not, boy. No, it's not.
Oh boy, okay, quickly, any further discussion? Seeing none, call a question. Those in favor, those opposed, carried. Thank you. Okay, community services.
That's all for people.
Pages 110 to 124, Community Planning Association of Alberta Annual Conference, Red Deer. Go ahead, Larry.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Council. As noted, page 110 of your agenda, a short report with accompanying backup documentation that explains what this year's Community Planning Association of Alberta Annual Conference being held in Red Deer will be about. And the title of this particular conference is Planning and Politics. And it sounds like it could be particularly relevant to council members. You know, they specifically acknowledge that it's going to bring together planners, administrators, and politicians from throughout Alberta to help each other better appreciate and understand the other's knowledge, priorities, and perspectives. The conference is scheduled to be held from April 29th, which I believe is a Monday, through to May 1st at the Black Knight Inn in Red Deer, where it is held annually for the past several years at least. They've also requested or asked or offered the opportunity for Lethbridge County to provide a gold sponsorship for $1,250. The county has done that for the past few years, I believe every year that I've been at the county at least. And with that is included one free registration for any member of council, and that is a $500 value. So if one or more council members were to attend, you know, in effect, we could look at it as a $750 sponsorship cost. It's a good conference, well attended from people throughout the province and many municipalities, rural and urban, and is a good opportunity to network and to learn some new things about planning and where it's going in the current political and you know, the environment in which we're functioning these days. So the recommendation, Mr. Chairman, is that if any council member wishes to attend that conference, that they may do so. And the second part of that is that the council agreed to sponsor at gold sponsorship level, pardon me, $1,250 for the 2019 CPAA annual conference. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions? Boss.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll move that we go with the recommendation, and I think we can also mention that Hillary is also on the board there, so I think it'd be nice to give her our support.
Any discussion? Call for the question, those in favor? Those opposed? Carried. How soon do you need to know who's going?
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be, but I believe Lorraine, one of our executive assistants, may have been in touch with council members already and booked some rooms and so on. So,
Sorry?
She did book some rooms, but just to hold them.
Okay.
That starts in May.
Pardon?
April, in
April
April.
29th to May 1st. So the sooner the better.
Disaster services?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, the one we have left is K2, 138 to 140, disaster services proposal with the town of Coaldale.
Hello. This is a report that's brought back from the December 6th meeting, and I think there was too much information with regards to the inspections and investigation. So this report just speaks to the disaster management piece. Thank you. I'm sorry, I keep calling it emergency management. But what this report talks about is possibly doing a 2-year contract with the town of Coaldale for the disaster management services. Now, I know at the last meeting, Larry was declared the DEM, and that is to have a DEM on record. However, I do think the 2-year contract may be long, but I do think we need to enter into a contract with Coaldale or some other alternative, because right now Larry is quite full doing ICFs with me. He's my point person. There's changes to the Emergency Management Act. Did I get that piece of legislation right? And so my thought is that if we did this for a year, it would give us time to do the ICFs, and it would also give us an opportunity to see if the partnership worked. I'm in response to the inspection piece. That has been parked because we're digging further into questions that council had. We found out that none of the inspection reports were going to the area, to the fire chief of the area. We've since corrected that, but we do think that another report would have to come back on the inspections and investigations separately from this. So today we're just hoping to deal with the disaster management piece.
Larry?
yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to add a couple notes to what Ms. Mitchell has already shared with you, and that is with the new Emergency Management Amendment Act, they're calling it, there is an intention to improve disaster response by updating the requirements for training, management plans, that is emergency management plans, and evacuation orders. So there's a bit of work to be done in that area, and if we did have an outside agency or individual through the town of Coaldale to assist with that, I think that would be a very positive step. As well, there was one other piece I wanted to mention here, and that is that in our region, the only 2 municipalities outside of Lethbridge County itself, but thinking about the small urbans in Lethbridge County and obviously the city and then the town of Coaldale, the city of Lethbridge and the town of Coaldale are the only 2 municipalities who have appointed and full-time directors of emergency management. So if we did go with the town of Coaldale, it's not as if we have to choose from one of 5 or 6 municipalities, because the municipalities north of the river don't have that built-in capacity. So if we were going to go outside of our organization and ask one of the other municipalities to provide that support, it would have to be with either the town of Coaldale or perhaps the city of Lethbridge, and we haven't entered into that discussion with the city. But as you are aware, the town of Coaldale has been sort of proactive in offering that service to Lethbridge County if it so chooses. Thanks.
And just another point, this past week, Larry and I met with the CEOs of the urbans inside the county, not the city, but the other urbans. We did talk about shared services, and we did talk about disaster management. Currently in Colehurst, Pitcher Butte, and Nobleford, the two CAOs and one of the assistants are the Dems, but they are finding it like very taxing, and it's quite a workload in addition to their other duties. So they did mention that through the ICF process, they may be looking at working with a more regional Dem.
Boss?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So that regional DEM, what you referred to, would that be from the region north of the thing, or from the whole region?
The sense that I got is from the whole region.
Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question to Larry. If we required you to be the Director of Emergency Management longer, would you require substantial training to get up to speed on certain things? I guess just what extra would it entail for your role, I guess?
Sure. Thank you, Councillor Campbell, through the chair, to respond to your question. I mean, always there is room for improvement and additional training, but at this point I'm trained and I'm ready if the bell goes off in 5 minutes because we have a major disaster in Lethbridge County to step into the ECC and do everything I can to the absolute best of my capability, knowledge, training, skills, experience, all those good things. So again, you know, I can do that. Some of the things where I might be challenged time-wise would be with updating the emergency plan and providing some of the training and organizing that and so on. Some of those new requirements that have just been imposed upon municipalities under the new Emergency Management Amendment Act, and which are due and required to be in place by no later than January 1st, 2020. So if that answers your question, hopefully. Thank you.
So just to make sure I'm clear, you did talk about a year, but what I see is a 2-year deal. So
Yeah, and it should have been here. That was what we'll have Donna change that, but yes, I think a year is more than sufficient, and given that the cursory conversations we've had, 2019 is going to be a year to reevaluate the CPO program, reevaluate the emergency management program, and talk about the fire services. So I think a year would be sufficient for us to figure out where we're going in 2020.
Oh, Steve, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think a year would probably be good too, and then come fall we can reevaluate again. And by then the ICFs are more in place or potentially in place by then. So that's just a way of working together too there.
Go ahead, Tori.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just echo what Councillor Campbell just said. I feel more comfortable with the year rather than the 2. I think it gives us, as it's been noted, just some time internally to reevaluate. So I'd like to make the motion as presented that we enter into an agreement with the town of Coldell to provide disaster response services through an appointed director of emergency management for 2019, provided by the town.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. Those in favor? Those opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Anything else? Do you want to do council reports now, or would you like to do finish off the open house? Let's go back to the open house. Let's finish that up. Public hearing, sorry. Yeah.
So we're having an open house? Last time.
I'll bring it up. Okay, so we had a chance to listen to both parties involved. Are we gonna do both at once, or do we have to separate them?
Usually we do the recommendations separately, one for each of the bylaws, just to make it clear.
Okay. Are there any questions of council? Or any further discussion? Boris?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We got good presentations from both sides, I would say. You know, the only thing is what bothers me, the high groundwater table, what's in the area down there, and the people, you know, what pursuing it, you know, they brought up that retention pond or whatever, and me, for looking up where it's at and for what I heard, what it used to be or whatever, the retention pond can be filled up in a half a day or whatever, and then they gonna go with the water, we're not sure. And then he also brought up, you know, they got permission from St. Mary's to pump it out and bring it into the system. However, I know what the irrigation district have in place for that. They gotta take sampling, and sometimes that sampling takes a little bit too, and I seen it before, that the sampling, it didn't make it. And then they sit there for the full retention pond. And if you were having, say, a high ground water table down there, I don't think it would have been too much of a concern to me, but it is. That thing, I don't think it's doable for what the engineer down there.
Any other comments? Tori?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess just taking in everything from the neighboring landowners that came in and spoke today, I would have to tend to agree with a lot of the things that were said. I know myself personally, I farm some land that's surrounded by 5 smaller parcels, houses, acreages, that kind of thing, and I know the challenges that brings. As Mrs. Bezoyan alluded to with spraying and irrigating, and at the end of the day, I think we continue to identify the importance of agriculture in the county, and I think that has to come first. And moving forward, I couldn't support what's presented before us. I would have to vote against second reading.
Any other comments?
I'll agree with Troy. The Stantec does a really good job. I'll agree with Troy. Stantec does a really good job at creating an area structure plan, and the water table, I have concerns with the height of the water, and as one gentleman mentioned, instead of, and actually the lots in here says that the water table is high enough, and they talk about putting houses on grade or whatever, and that, so, but I'll agree with Troy.
Any other comments? Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just on top of that, I mean, it doesn't conform with our municipal development plan or the South Saskatchewan regional plan for taking high quality agricultural land out, specifically irrigation land. You know, in Hillary's report, it mentioned, you know, it's not against a hamlet or recreation area or cutoff parcel, so it just doesn't fit in the development or in the municipal development plan.
So we would need a motion for bylaw 18-026. Hillary? Oh, Tori? Okay.
Not to defeat Don, just to
Move second reading.
Move
So
second.
you have to move second reading, if you defeated, it's fine.
Yeah.
That's what the venture on, yeah, okay. Any further discussion? So you're voting to approve second reading. Okay, I'm gonna call the question, those in favor? Those opposed? Defeated. Okay, so we also need the same similar motion for bylaw 18-027.
I'll make that one, Mr. Chairman.
Morris, second reading. Any discussion? Call for the question, those in favor? Those opposed? Defeated. Thank you. I think that's it, other than the reports, isn't it? Okay. Oh, yeah, sorry, thanks.
Even if it's.
So who's making that? Steve, are you making that motion? Okay. Yeah, you can, it's already been accepted, so.
Then I'd move the 2019 Bank of Montreal Farm Family Award request Dave Bishop family.
Any further discussion? Call for the question, those in favor? Opposed, carried. Yeah. Donna can wordsmith it. Okay, so we just have the one thing left, and that's the council reports. When Donna brings them up, we can go through them.
Or you put these in based on your timesheets, and Quasi will have your timesheet. That's when we get to you. Sarah needs your timesheet.
So who's he got first?
No. So we only have up until your last one, but.
I only got November there.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, so do you want us to go through each one of them? Okay, so November 1st, we had a council meeting. Can't remember exactly all the details of it. And November the 2nd was mayors and reeves. The one thing that did come out of there was to talk about the black internet, high-speed, dark fiber internet, high-speed service. So I believe Ann and Bob and did Martin go? Okay, good to hear about that from ATCO. Meeting the media workshop, we had 2 days of that. That was very interesting. Certainly dealt with the other side of trying to get your issue to make sure that the media and is well versed in what you mean to say and making key messages very important to the point. Because the one I found most interesting was the fact that half a page of newspaper, half of it or more is going to be ads. So if your story doesn't fit into the space allotted, they just kind of shrink it down to however they so choose, and that's what you get. So which I found interesting. So I went to the Remembrance Day services in Lethbridge on the 11th. On the 13th, Ann and I met with Joe Ceci, the finance minister, and had for lunch at the Root Legion. That was a fairly good meeting actually, and we have some follow-up coming up shortly with him. November the 14th, we had an emergency services meeting. 15th, we had council and the AMA meeting. The AMA, I think, is very much on side with what we're trying to do in the county, and hopefully we can work together with the AMA and get our messages and their messages out together for safer roads in the county and all over. The 19th to the 22nd, we were at the RMA Fall Convention in Edmonton. We had the opportunity to meet with the Minister of Transportation, and from that we were able to secure another meeting and make an application for the wastewater grant again, which was very good news. So on the 23rd, with Ken, went to Calgary, the Council General of Japan, and actually I was asked to do the toast to the Emperor for the Emperor's birthday, and that was very good. So yeah, 26th and 20 to the 28th, we had budget deliberations, and of course today we passed the return. Then are we going to do December's too? Sure, okay. December the 1st, went to the Mayor's Bear Breakfast. That was very well attended. It was actually a good event. Sat with some interesting people who I'd never really had the opportunity to talk to before. There's a lot of people around Lethbridge who go out and do the little cleanup every morning and pick up the needles and do a lot of work on a side we never see because they go to work before most people even get out of bed in the morning. So it was interesting to talk to them. On the 3rd, we had a budget meeting and a CEO review. 6th, we had a council meeting and a meeting with the University of Lethbridge's president's reception. Unfortunately, he wasn't there, but it wasn't very well attended either. As my friend Mr. Penny said, the crowd is getting older and there's getting less of us. So I'm not sure how to rate that. I was going to ask him, but I didn't bother. And then the 7th, we met with the new CEO for the Elder Cattle Feeders. The 10th, Town of Coaldale groundbreaking for the new fire hall renovations. And the 11th and 12th, collective bargaining. And we will be continuing that in January. The December 11th also went to the area structure plan for the airport hosted by the city. And the 17th, of course, today we had council, and on the 19th we have a separate meeting with Town Coaldale. Any questions of? Okay.
Okay, and then November the 1st, the council.
Push the button too.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, on November the 1st, there was the council meeting, and November the 8th and 9th, it's a media workshop, and then we had the open house for section 26 on the 13th, and that was pretty well attended, I think. And then the emergency service committee meeting on the 14th. Okay, what's that?
Council waiting.
Council and email or
Oh, that one, yeah. Council and AMA meeting after that. And then November the 19th to 22nd, the Edmonton Fall Convention, or RMA, and attended the Japanese Consulate General's reception in Calgary with Lauren. And the 26th to 28th was the budget deliberations. Heard on the December the 3rd was also a budget meeting. November the 6th was council meetings. The 10th was the Town of Coaldale groundbreaking ceremony for fire hall renovation project. 17th is council meeting, the town, and then the 19th is the town Coaldale and Lethbridge council meeting. That's a Wednesday, and then the 21st will be a safety barbecue from Pitcher Butte. And also on the 7th of November, I went to Coldhurst. Any questions?
Well, you don't have to put it in.
Who's next? Lori, I think, would be.
Thank you. November 1st, council meeting. November 6th was my first meeting with the Link Pathway Society. We had a small group that day, unfortunately, but they did their best to try and bring me up to speed as to where things were with the Link Pathway. Next steps ahead. Still working with a couple of landowners to finalize the route and secure the route. Also talking about the surfaces, what the options were, whether it be possibly roller compacted concrete or an asphalt surface or a limestone or some type of surface. There's still working with the engineer, hoping to get a report, I believe, in January with an update there. November 8th and 9th, meeting the media workshop here at the administration building. The 11th, attended the Town of Coaldale Remembrance Day services. 14th, Emergency Services Committee meeting. 15th, council, and then met with the AMA. November 23rd, took part in the Coaldale Parade of Lights in Coaldale, rode on the float with my daughter Andy and Councillor Horvath. November 24th, attended the Coaldale Emergency Services Banquet and Award Ceremony. 26th, 28th, deliberation for budget. 3rd was budget meeting. 6th, council meeting. December 7th, meet and greet with the Alberta Cattle Feeders Association. That was a nice introduction to the incoming CEO. December 10th, Coaldale Fire Hall groundbreaking ceremony. The 13th, the Chinook Arch Library Board meeting. That was actually a really good meeting. They decided to, as part of the meetings, have the first half an hour, 45 minutes dedicated to professional development. So they're going to have a speaker come in and just kind of something that's just kind of out of the realm of libraries and just general information. And they had Jill Manning of Arches come and speak and touched on the opioid crisis. And it was probably a 2-hour speech that she condensed into 30 minutes, but it was really good. Really opened my eyes to where we started and how we got to where we are with the opioid crisis, supervised consumption, and all that. I would highly recommend, if you get a chance to hear her speak. It was really eye-opening. December 11th, attended the Airport Area Structure Plan open house at the library. December 17th, council meeting, and then upcoming, I have another Link Pathway meeting tomorrow, and then the Town of Coaldale meeting on Wednesday evening. Thank you.
Looks like I'm up next. November 1st had a council meeting. November 8th and 9th, meeting the media workshop. November 14th was a very busy day. IDP meeting with Novelford. I had a Community Futures Committee meeting, Emergency Advisory Committee meeting, and wrapped it up in the evening with an Exhibition Park board meeting. 15th had council meeting. November 19th to 22nd attended the RMA Fall Convention in Edmonton. The 26th to 28th had budget deliberations. December 3rd, a budget meeting. December 5th, Exhibition Park meeting. The 6th had a council meeting. The 7th, we had a meet and greet with the Alberta Cattle Feeders Association. December 17th, today, had a council meeting. And coming up on Wednesday the 19th, have a Community Futures Board meeting, and also the Town of Coaldale and Lethbridge County Council of Council supper.
This is me. Okay, November 1st, council meeting, and on November 1st, we had a meeting with Mark Yancey, and they were checking out a water situation in this area, drainage. November 2nd, Highway 320 Association meeting. November 8th and 9th, meeting with the workshop media.
Thank you. November 11th, Town of Coldwell Remembrance Day ceremonies with Tori. We were there with them. Very interesting place. And there was been to one before. November 15th, council meeting, and then the AMA meeting. November 19th to the 22nd, we had the RMA convention in Edmonton. November 23rd, Coldwell Christmas parade with Tori and his daughter, but I sat in the truck while he sat out the back of the truck. Yeah, he wanted to get cold. Okay, and then November 26th to 28th, budget deliberation. November 30th, I went to the Nicollet Gardens Winter Light Festival. Very nice. It was quite the lights. December 3rd, budget meeting. December 6th, council meeting in University Lethbridge President's Christmas reception. December 7th, meet and greet with Alberta Cattle Feeders Association. December 10th, Coldwell Fire Hall groundbreaking ceremony. December 11th, collective bargaining with CUPE and Lethbridge Airport Area Structure Plan open house. December 12th, collective bargaining with QP. December 13th, South Grove board meeting. I went with Dan Mitchell and myself. It was quite a meeting. December 14th, meeting with Mark Hansen again to let us know what he wants more or done to the area. And December 17th, council meeting, which is today, and then on 19th, I got a meeting with the Town of Coldwell, Lethbridge County Council Summer, with the council Summer meeting. Thank you. Can you hear me? I gotta read that one. That one is a little too far away. Anyways, November the 1st, council meeting. November the 8th, meeting with media workshop, but I only met half a day. And that's all I needed.
I knew something would come out of that one.
November the 14th, IDP meeting with Town of Noblefort. It went really well. Kurt wasn't there. November, well, it's being recorded, isn't it? Yeah. November the 15th, council meeting. November the 19th and 22nd, RMA. Who's moving that thing? Where are we?
You're at budget deliberation.
Yeah, December the 3rd now?
Yeah.
Budget meeting. Good budget meetings. No, you lost me again. You moved that thing too much.
December 6th council meeting, that's where you are.
Okay, then December the 7th, meet and greet with the Alberta Cattle Feeders. December 11th to 12th, collective bargaining with QP, and December the 17th, council meeting. December the 18th, which is tomorrow, North County Potable Water Co-op. However, I might have to miss that one because I do need to go to the funeral. December the 19th, Town of Coldwell, Lethbridge stopping. And then we also got the 21st that I think, you know, which you don't need to put down there, but we're gonna, hopefully we can meet with everybody down there at the Picture View Alex Hall for barbecue, steaks, and whatever else. However, I might have to miss that one too, because there's another funeral coming up. Thank you.
So like you get lunch at the all age you go to, or is that why you go? No.
Well, I want to go to 11 o'clock, so I think so. But no, Joanne Becker, she passed away.
Okay, so I believe that's it. We can, oh, Bob.
You want it? Okay. There we go, thank you, Anna. So, I guess, November 1st, we had council meeting, and then November 3rd, we had the Shaughnessy fundraising supper. Then November 5th, we had the Lethbridge Waste Management Committee. November 8 and 9, we had meeting the media. Then November 11th, that was Remembrance Day in Picture View. November 14th, IDP meeting with the town of Noblefort. 15th, council and AMA meeting that day. And November 19th to 21, RMA fall convention. And the 23rd, I had a SEWA meeting. 26th and 20 to 28 was budget deliberations.
And the 30th was the Nikayuku Japanese Gardens, and then I got December for you here. I don't know if you want to type that fast or you want to just get it for me later.
I can get it from you later or now, it doesn't matter.
Okay, and I'll just go through. So that is December 3, that was budget meeting. And then we had Community Foundation Grant Celebration, that was the 4th. That was when Shaughnessy got awarded $15,000 for the roof of their community center there, the old school. And then the 6th, we had the informal meeting with the CEO and the council meeting afterwards. Then I had a meet and greet. Then the 10th, we had the groundbreaking with the fire hall in Coaldale. And then the 11th, we had the Lethbridge area structure plan in the evening. Are you okay, Donna?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
What was the 11th, sorry?
I was just airport area structure plan.
And then we had timesheets deadline the 14th. So, and then with the 14th had Sewa in Falcon. And then today we got the council meeting. And then Wednesday I have economic development in Lethbridge. And then in the evening, town of Coaldale supper. And then of course the barbecue the 21st.
What was the second to last one, sorry?
And that was town of Coaldale, or the first one?
Economic development, Lethbridge, and then a dinner at that same night.
And then the barbecue the 21st.
And that's it. Well, we need a motion to accept the reports, which I think Steve is going to make.
Just a question first. Did anybody attend the Noble for Emergency Services banquet on Saturday?
No.
Nobody was able to attend, but thank you, Maddie, because she drove out there and made sure the plaques were delivered, so.
The mayor delivered the plaque.
So Steve, are you making a motion to?
Yes, I can move that for information.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Call for the question. Those in favor, those opposed, carried. So before we depart, just like to say I hope that everybody has a very Merry Christmas, and if you're traveling anywhere, have a safe travels, and